My name is Superintendent Roberta McHale with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in Alberta. I'm here to speak to you today with regards to our incidents in the last 24 hours leading to several arrests pertaining to the illegal protest that's been taking place here in Coutts, as well as 18 kilometers north by Milk River. Last night we had a vehicle that we had checkpoints, and one particular checkpoint, tractor from a farm implement, a very large with a scoop in the front, came at one of our members in the vehicle, and they had to avoid him, and then ended up with a tractor trailer semi that was involved in a coordinated effort, and it was in an attempt to push or ram our police vehicle. From there, the occupants of the two vehicles ran and ended up going into an area where the protesters were located. We were able to identify one of the males that were driving one of the vehicles, and our investigation is continuing. We know who that person is, and we will release information upon that person's arrest. Our members have been up here, and in general we haven't had many incidents involving violence, but unfortunately an investigation started after a period of time when the initial protesters arrived. Shortly thereafter, we began to receive imminent information of potential threats. It took some time to investigate that and to determine facts, which have led us to several arrests during the night last night. These arrests and this investigation is continuing. We have since made another arrest involving this. The escalation of violence towards the members, including having someone break one of our checkpoints this afternoon and just about hit one of our members on the road. So we certainly have concerns about how this has developed, and our investigation into what could be a number of different charges and a number of different acts has created a situation where we're investigating conspiracy to attempt to commit murder. And then we have other investigations involving the firearms, clearly. So a search warrant was conducted last night it was approximately midnight, 12:30, where 3 trailers associated to a group that had arrived separate to the original protesters, but ended up being a part of this whole situation. And this group, we conducted a search warrant into 3 trailers associated to them, resulting in the seizure of weapons, firearms, ammunition, as well as body-worn armour that would normally be a police issue. And these people were taken into custody. We have determined that the investigation is ongoing, and we will continue to investigate this for the safety of the public and for the safety of the police. It's important for us to say that our message has always been to have the public safe and the police safe, and as more and more information came to light, it was important for us to have people leave the illegal blockade. We encouraged people to leave, and unfortunately we were able to, with the province of Alberta, secure an area for people to move to peacefully protest, that were interested in continuing to protest. And at this point, we hadn't had a lot of people go there. They wanted to remain at the location, both here at Milk River and Coutts. And we ended up having to act on our information due to the totality of the situation and obviously the increased danger to our police. And ultimately, if the police are at a risk, the public is at a risk, because we need to protect the public, and we can't have our situation be where we don't have the ability to defend ourselves and then on top of that defend the public. The threats were taken, the time was taken to investigate them to get to this point, and our investigation is continuing. This isn't This isn't over at this point. We have to continue to look into things. We have asked for people to leave and continue to ask for people to leave. We continue to ask for people to stay away because we couldn't guarantee at one point where things were going to go with regards to the safety of the members. And as soon as it escalated to the point that a decision had to be made, we acted. And like I said, this was a very complex, layered investigation. And some people might ask why it took so long. These investigations aren't necessarily easy. We have a team of people that are dedicated to investigate them, and it took to the point where we knew what was about to happen or inevitably to happen, and we acted as soon as we could. Any questions?
So the trailers, they were here in Coutts, they were in Milk River. When did they arrive? And if they were in Coutts, how did they get here? Because there were police checkpoints.
Yeah, I don't know when they arrived. They were here in Coutts.
Can you take me through the volatility that has seemingly escalated in the last little bit here and how members on the ground are feeling?
Well, all of us are dedicated to serving the province of Alberta and our citizens. And it's troubling if you have people that are here to cause harm to our own members. And we just want everyone to be safe. And that was our entire effort here. We wanted people to move away from the illegal blockade because of safety issues, and we wanted to have this resolved where people could safely use the highway and the border to get across to do their business and to do their personal work, and that was blockaded. And then to have people coming as well, like with heavy equipment, and you guys have probably heard that 3 large pieces of equipment were, stopped from being able to be used. And that was because our investigation led us that those pieces of equipment were coming here. And we told them not to come here, and we asked them to leave. And then the risk is that if we can't have more heavy equipment coming here for a fortification, and they needed to go, and they didn't. So part of our situation is protecting the public, but also not allowing it to go beyond that.
The trucks where you found the weapons, were they located on the road in the blockade or elsewhere in Coutts?
So we've had different arrests. The majority of the weapons that we located were in the 3 trailers. And then earlier today we had an arrest on the highway where two firearms were seized and a person was arrested as well.
So that's the 12th arrest.
But the trucks that you discovered the weapons in, were they in the blockade on the road, or were they off the blockade in a field or in a town or village?
No, one of them was on the highway coming here, and due to imminent threat, we located that vehicle and arrested that person. And then we had 3 trailers, and I say trailers as in not a truck or a tractor, but 3 trailers that were here where a stash of weapons was located, including firearms, long barrel weapons, and you have the list.
In town, or on the highway?
In town here, associated down the road here.
Is the conspiracy to commit murder charge, is that in the incident in the trailers and that vehicle with all the
That's
weapons
correct.
that you seized? Okay, and can you tell me what the status of those people who are charged? Are they in custody? What's going on with them?
Yeah, we have people in custody, and they have a court process that takes place where I don't believe any of them have had an information sworn where they would be charged as of yet. And once that happens, we'll do another release to update you all on that, and including the charges that are considered.
So I spoke to one of the protest organizers. Before you put your release out, I have to be transparent about that. And the account that I got was very different than what the RCMP is saying. One, that the truck and the trailer that were involved in the incident, that they were just basically warming their batteries up and driving around. Is that is there a possibility that that was what happened?
The investigation that led to that situation is not them warming up their vehicles and just moving around. They came at our member in a vehicle that was parked on the road doing a block, and that member had to move to avoid being pushed by this huge piece of equipment. And then the other vehicle that was utilized was involved as well. It was, in my opinion, coordinated, and that will be resolved at court.
Protest organizers in Ottawa have already said that the police here are essentially lying, that this is not true. There are certainly a number of people in the protests here that have that belief as well. How do you convince them that what you're saying is true?
The truth is that this absolutely took place, and I'm not going to argue with somebody who isn't going to listen to the facts. I have no intention of doing that. There are people with all sorts of opinions, but the truth is that there's a heavy stash of weapons, and these weapons were brought by people who had the intent on causing harm. And there are also people here who are here to protest, and they very likely didn't know what was going on here, but that is not up to me to decide as to what level things are at. And you can imagine our situation, and some people have asked for pictures, and I'm sure they will come, but people have to accept the truth and understand our situation is to protect the public, and in order to do that, we act on facts.
Do you think you got them all?
The investigation continues, and if there's more to be found, we will find them.
That doesn't really answer that question, though. Do you think you got them all, and are you worried there might be more?
I don't know. I'm not the investigator. I certainly hope that if there is a situation where there's someone else involved, that arrests happen.
So for clarity, the investigation into the charge of conspiracy to attempt murder, that the intended target was an RCMP officer.
Yeah, I don't know the fine details of the investigation. I just know that a threat was against our members in general, and that, as you saw in the brief, that we had to act on that information.
In your release, you refer to it as organized crime. What do you mean by that? What sort of organization are we talking about?
I think that the investigation will reveal the in-depthness of that. I don't know the exact characterization that it would be to lead this, but there's certainly a group that came in after the initial group arrived within days, and then this action began. And it came to a point where for the safety of the members and for the safety of the public, we certainly had to act and act quickly.
You say that this group was sort of embedded in the larger group. Is that a fair assessment of it?
Yes, we had, and we had also the difficulty of having two locations of unlawful protest separated by 18 kilometers. So we had two different groups of people, and I don't know how in depth their involvement is. I don't know how many numbers of people were involved in this, but that's up to the investigators to ensure that it continues to be investigated.
So is there a possibility that this group that you arrested were acting completely in their own silo and without others in the protest knowing about them?
I don't know. That's going to come out through evidence at court, I'm sure.
I know you did just want to speak to the events that have unfolded, but can you give any update on what's next from police and the RCMP?
What's next is we're going to ensure that this border is opened and stays open safely, and that the public is able to use the highways and use the border as it's meant to be. And certainly our opinion is that any sort of protest that continues after this point, the government of Alberta has provided us equipment that we're going to use to remove people. And as I've said all along, the best way to get the vehicles off the road is to have people take them off themselves and drive away. And if we have to come back and charge people, we will.
Any timeline on that, getting things open?
Well, the border needs to open, so it's very important. And we already have people, I've been advised, pulling out and leaving. And I guess we'll see how long that takes. Our goal has always remained that we understand, and everyone does, that Canadians have the right to peaceful protest in a lawful location and in a lawful process. And clearly that didn't happen here, and we acted on that.
As you mentioned, the province has supplied, or at least is going to supply, the vehicles or machinery that's necessary to clear these roadblocks. Is that machinery here now?
It's coming today. if not already here.
So 11 people arrested at the time of the release, one more, a 12th person since then, and then what about the driver of the tractor? Has he or she been located?
We're working on that. I don't know where that stands.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a big piece of farm equipment to have coming at you.
Are you making any special efforts to document the work of the officers in the field?
Document the work of this. This is a big investigation, and we're documenting things, yes.
What percentage of the officers are wearing body cams?
I don't have that information.
And then, sorry, the driver of the semi-trailer, have they been identified? Have they been arrested?
The semi-truck?
Yeah.
I don't have that information. I know that they were able to ID for sure one person, and the investigation continues.
Are all the people arrested Canadian citizens?
I don't have that information. I can't comment on that.